Okay, we're good to
Oh,
go.
we are good, man. Okay, I'm seeing the feed spool up here. Still waiting for a couple of them to get going here. Oh, I think we're good. All right, Jon Bryant, my good friend, we are live on the internets together. You're the tech guy. You probably understand what all that stuff means. I'm just a simple, humble podcaster from flyover country. So,
I still use the World Wide Web or the information superhighway. So I don't know what you're
perfect.
on, but
Oh man. Okay. So, hey everybody, I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company, also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a live Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube show most of the time where we talk about the life of a master craftsperson and the life of a paint business entrepreneur. And I have been looking forward to this show for a very long time because the mind of Jon Bryant is one of my favorite minds in the industry. We never have a dull conversation. In fact, I believe that every time I come into contact with you, my knowledge and wisdom of this industry and maybe even of just of life progresses a little bit. So I am, maybe I shouldn't build it up that much, but personally, I look forward to these conversations all the time, Jon Bryant. Thanks for being here.
thanks, Nick. As long as you don't introduce me and say, this guy's really funny, and then I have to perform, I'm happy with that. Because that's happened before on podcasts, and I get too amped up. I try too hard. So in this case, I'm flattered. Thank you. And thanks for having me on. It's
Well,
a pleasure.
you're from Canada. We know you're not funny. That's fine. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So the PCA, I got to do a little housekeeping here first. The PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, 140-year-old nonprofit. I happen to be the board chair, but also I am a member and I am a huge advocate of it because I would not have met Jon. I would not be where I am in the industry. I would not be the father, the husband, the human, the business leader for my people that I am for all those reasons. And somebody this last week just sent me an email. We were at the commercial conference together and they sent me the very simple but very profound email. Why should I join the PCA? And I have a stock answer that I've developed over the years. There's all these immediate things you get. There's industry standards. There's access to health insurance. There's discounts to all. There's like the immediate grabs. And then there's the long-term grabs, which is you get to meet people like Jon. There's a similar badge of trust when you see another PCA member. You know that these are your people. These are the top 1% of the industry that share core values. But the problem is, like, when you get down to it, in the end, all I can say is I would never be the human I am without the other humans and the guidance and the education of the PCA. And sometimes that's a little esoteric when you're asking somebody for membership money, but I dare you to come to an in-person event and you will know exactly what I'm saying. I cannot explain it as well as the experience of being at an event will do for you. And of course, we have the PCA Expo, our Super Bowl coming up, which I know you and team are always there in full force. You're huge supporters. When you pull up Jon's website, that's the technical term, right? When you pull up Jon's website, there is a PCA badge at the bottom of it there. So Jon is a big supporter of the PCA, and we share similar core values there. So I would urge you guys, and Jon would as well, to come to the PCA Expo. It is our Super Bowl. There's going to be probably up to 1,500 of the thought leaders of the industry there doing their good things in Orlando. So housekeeping complete. Jon Bryant, thank you for being here today.
Can I add to that though, Nick?
Yeah.
Just because it's funny, this journey that we've all been on, I think with painting businesses where you're like, you start and you're like, I think I can do this. And you try and try and try, and you realize it's really hard. Anyone who told you it was easy was obviously just didn't care enough about you to really know the truth. So, I delayed going to things like the PCA for a long time. Like I was like, I don't know if I need it. And then you show up and you realize these are people. These are all people on the same journey.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard group to find. We're all kind of hidden and siloed in our own spaces and in these, cities, feeling like we compete against each other. And then you go to a place and you can actually talk real talk with people. And I've had some of the best conversations with things I've struggled with, personally running a business and personally with, whether it's work-life balance or, the little tips and tricks that actually made a massive difference just from these events. So I'm just going to echo what you said there because it is really powerful. And if you're thinking like, I don't really need that, like give your head a shake, like just look in the mirror and be like, you deserve this. Say that
Yes.
like 10 times and then go sign up. So that's the way I feel about it.
It's an amazing thing because like there's if you had to categorize people's success or failure, you can almost oversimplify it by saying all the people who are very good and happy at what they do have access to information and access to the humans that will help them when you need them.
Mhm.
And so the PCA is literally that is what they do. The mission statement is building better businesses. And yes, we have access to information. We have the best painters training in the world. We have business training. We're in year 2 of a 3-year education alignment initiative where we have a retired college professor, a doctorate of business, going through every bit of education in the industry, other trade associations, and putting it together in an aligned college style curriculum where guys like you, guys like me, we can get training for a single owner operator. We can get executive level training, stuff that you can't find anywhere else, shareholder level, C-suite kind of stuff. And there's also going to be training for estimators, project managers, office staff, coordinators, site supervisors, things like that. So that's only the work of a nonprofit. There's not many
Mhm.
for-profit companies that are going to take a 3-year arc and provide something like this at a highly subsidized rate for the good of the industry. That's what a nonprofit does, and that's why we love it so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't signed up already, should we just give everyone a 30-second break to go do that?
Absolutely. You stop right now and you go to the PCA's website and sign up. When you sign up, there are scholarships for veterans. There are scholarships to Expo. There are subsidized memberships. There is a Black Friday sale. Like, come on, people. We are removing every barrier to entry to this. It's already a highly subsidized fee per year to access all this stuff. And we're basically making it next to nothing if you really get on that website and search around. So I do appreciate that.
Love it.
Okay, well, Jon, for the few people who don't know who you are and what you do, what do we need to know
Mm.
about you?
Well, I have been in this industry for 20 years. Hard to believe sometimes. Um, and you know, I started as a painting contractor. I started. I mean, the journey is kind of interesting because I started really confused as to how I got into this thing. I've told this story a number of times. Of, you know, at the end of the day, I flipped a coin, and that's how I ended up here. Because I couldn't figure out what to do with my future, and so here I am. And one of the things that came from that journey is realizing that, you know, we're underserved as painting
Mm,
contractors in the world of software. So uh, started a software to help price jobs on the site with customers and take away that barrier of you know, one, getting the right price, two, giving customers real-time data, which they want. They want the price now, not in 2 or 3 days. So that was the kind of impetus for the product. So for PaintScout, we were designed to be that 5 to 10 minute estimating software that really gave you the best chance to succeed, kind of beat out your competition, have real conversations with your customers, and win more often. And so that's what came of that. And what we found is that that's a problem we all deal with. Uh, Estimating in our space is a unique challenge, and one that you know, requires a specialized approach really to handle well. And so we, you know, through PaintScout have developed this community of people who care about that
mm.
same problem and solving it at a really high level and being, you know, the best they can be. And today, you know, we serve a great community of people through our software that really, you know, are inspiring to me and are changing this industry that I believe is in such desperate need of change. So that's
Yeah,
who I am. I'm just the guy behind the scenes. But with Paint Scout, we have a team that serves that need, and we're really inspired to solve it.
but you're not just a software guy. You have experience with a paint company, though.
Absolutely, yeah. So over that, you know, 20-year period, we grew a sizable painting business in Calgary, Canada, and I got to see that full progression of, you know, starting to building to, you know, now it's that business has been fairly passed off, and that's, I think, a unique part of the journey that probably shouldn't be overlooked too much, is that I do have real time experience and feel that pain that we've all felt, and also have seen how you can get success in this business. It's not It's not a secret. And I've learned it from, great people like yourself. I've learned it from lots of other mentors in this industry to say, there is a better way of doing this. There is a way of running professionalized business, taking this to the next level, being business owners and business people. And that's been really inspiring.
So you do not need to know how to paint or run a paint company to make software for a painting company, but my God, does it help? Right?
Oh my gosh.
That's like the same people that say, you don't need to paint to run a painting company. I agree. Some of my people that I look up to don't do that, but holy crap, does that help?
It's interesting you say that. Like, I think going back to the start of the journey and trying to figure out why this works, it really worked because I have two kind of unique skills. One, I understand how to price and sell a paint job.
Yep.
And how that actually works with the customer and how to pass that information off to a crew, how to get that done, and then how to scale that to, many estimators, 20, 30, 40 crews. I have a knowledge of that. So that helps. But two, I'm a passionate designer. And so I actually designed the initial product and still very involved in the design. And I think design plays a major role in how we interact with anything in life. And when it's done right, it's just easy. It's seamless. It feels simple, and that's a real passion of mine. And my co-founder is technical. So you put those skills together. Without any one of those three skills, we don't end up in a great solution.
Design. Not a point to be overlooked, because you think about something like the iPhone, which is so beautiful in its interactivity with like a human. You could argue it's like the most successful consumer thing that's ever been invented, just because it's like, it's just the way the human interacts with it. It's so intuitive, right? And it just all makes sense. It's the same thing with PaintScout.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you see that, Nick, because sometimes you sit in the lab and you're like, I hope this works for people, and you do the testing. And at the end of the day, we really feel like it's always in progress, but I think we've arrived somewhere where it's fairly simple. So
origin story of PaintScout, was it originally just devised to be for you, selfishly, just for your own business, or was the thought always, taking into account the larger industry?
Well, there's this little problem with software, and it needs a lot of money. It's like really money hungry. And so once you get into it, you're like, I'd love to have this for myself, but where's the money going to come from?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and we started with this idea that fast estimation mattered. And once we actually got that out to a group of people, they immediately agreed. Like, it wasn't a hard sell, so to speak. And I think that was a good indicator that there was value in that. But yeah, I mean, we had to grow, and I think all businesses experience that, like cash flow matters.
Oh, yeah.
But with software, it's interesting because you have such a huge upfront cost, and it takes years to actually get that figured out. So thankfully, we have really awesome customers that have stayed with us from the start, and that's been very helpful. The other piece of that that's really helpful is that we get a lot of feedback, a lot of good industry feedback. And so one part of my story that I'll share is that I came back to the paint industry really reluctantly. I have a finance degree. I went to school for that, and I got into painting by chance and didn't really love how I felt. There was a kind of a strange, difference in conversation with the people who I went to school with, to what I was doing. I don't know if you've ever felt that, Nick.
It's something I've had to work a lot of years to get over with. I'm just a painter,
Yeah, gosh. And the amount of times I said that really, started to get to me. And, I describe it now like I really, I dislike the reputation of this industry so much that I'm motivated to make change.
Yep.
And really what that means is, like, I feel like my older brother went through high school before me. It was kind of a shithead. And I come into high school and everybody thinks I'm the same person. And I'm really highly motivated to change that. I think there's a future for our industry that allows us to have a different reputation, a different self-image, a different pride in what we do, because what we do is just such an amazing craft. And so why do we have to say I'm just a painter? Like, that we're amazing craftsmen that do have own great businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that's so foundational to the fabric of why this product exists. So did I want that to have it personally? Sure. But did I realize it could have an impact long term, that other people could feel that power? Once I felt that, it was like, okay, this needs to be in the hands of the many in order to get that feeling that I got. And that was so powerful.
It's interesting. I was at the PCA commercial conference last week, and this was the first time that my wife ever joined me at an industry conference. Like, surprise,
Mm.
surprise, it's a little hard to get your beloved wife to come to these nerdy painting conferences, right? But it was at the Hotel Del Coronado in San Diego. And so
Mm.
she
Beautiful.
reluctantly decided to come to this one, which I was very happy for. But I was describing to somebody in her presence the arc I've taken about exactly that, which is when my father started me off at 10, and up into about my mid 20s, it was, oh, I'm just a painter. I'm just a
Yeah.
painter. And it was a thing you don't even think about, but it's
No.
something that everybody who's gone through this arc of entering this industry under low self-esteem circumstances, right? Because
Mm.
you don't shake a kid loose in kindergarten and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say house painter. I've never met a
Mm.
kid like that, right? So we
No.
find ourselves by chance or by family or by circumstances in the painting industry. So every single person who has grown a business has a similar thing of saying, I'm just a painter. And you don't
Mhm.
even think about it. I'm just a painter. I'm just a painter. And then I went on this arc. I was describing this where it went from I'm just a painter to, oh my God, I own a painting company and we use like cloud software and I got some
Mhm.
people with me and we have a fleet of vans and a finishing shop. And then you get all proud about it. And then I was describing the final end of that arc now where so many people are so disinterested a lot of the time because
Mhm.
you don't have like a sexy job. I have gone
Yeah.
back to saying, oh, I'm just a house painter. And then
100%.
every time we're in public now, my wife is like, "You're not just a freaking house painter. Like you got a company. You're the dang board chair of this thing. Nick, you can't just say I'm a house painter." I like saying that anymore. I love the look
Totally.
on people's faces when you say, "I'm just a house painter now." So
I think that there's a similar arc actually in people who buy cars. And so you
oh,
start off, you buy like a low level car, you make your way up, you get more and more wealth, and you buy like the nicest car,
yep.
and then the most wealthy person goes back to a Toyota Corolla.
Yep. It's amazing how that and wears Old Navy clothes because it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
you realize like the thrill of getting there was the thrill and not the actual stuff and things like that. And
yeah.
so yeah, now it's just yeah, I think it's a fun arc and I love to come out on the other side, but I've also been in therapy for a lot of years. So, that's
Exactly,
been helpful too. So
exactly. Yeah, no doubt.
so one
So
one thing I love, well, one of the many things I love about what you guys do, which is you know how carefully I consider every single thing that is done in my
mm,
business. It's got to
yeah,
be an amazing product. It's got to have good humans. It's got to be readily available, and it has to share our core values. And especially when somebody who wants to like progress in the industry and stuff like that. But there's also this added thing that I've been looking for in vendors, which is like innovation too,
mm,
because you attach yourself to a Sherwin, you attach yourself to a Purdy, you attach yourself to a PaintScout, and you basically sit back, be a good user, give them feedback, and magically innovations show up. And you guys dropped a monster innovation on us this last year. What was that?
yeah. I mean, I think it was October. We launched our the CRM. So first CRM built specifically for the painting industry,
Yep.
and I couldn't believe that actually when we said it, there's nothing ever been focused on what we do before. And so, yeah, we got a chance to, over the last year, just develop, get a lot of feedback, start to understand what people wanted, and release this product. And we feel like it's just the start. I mean, like it's the start of a roadmap that's going to take us pretty far with this product. And originally it was meant for sales. Reluctantly, I said, okay, fine, let's let's try something new here. And the adoption has been tremendous. It's something that really people wanted, and you always kind of are rolling the dice with these things. You put a lot of effort into them, and
Yeah.
hope at the end of the day people value it the same way you do. And I was really really positive to see that. So yeah, the CRM. I mean, for those who don't know, I mean the CRM helps you manage your customer
Yep.
relations, helps you manage your lead flow, helps you manage just all the stuff that goes along with your customers, and booking jobs, booking estimates, communicating with them about that. So that was the piece that we've added on the front end, and we think that makes PaintScout and ultimately the contractors we work with a lot better.
One really cool tactical thing, and this has been a unique experience because we've all had software experiences where you get some software and it's like there's a couple things that are user friendly and needed, and then there's a whole bunch of crap that doesn't seem to be relevant to you or usable or way too complex. And I will happily say that this has been the only experience where it was like, and it does what? And that,
Mhm.
because literally I have, like everybody who's gotten this far in business, I've linked together all sorts of software and apps and spreadsheets,
Yeah.
cobbling together what it in some like non-sophisticated way that you guys have done in a very elegant way like that. And it was one of those experiences where you guys did the CRM and it was literally replicated all the crap that I've been holding together with duct tape and band-aids and human
Mhm.
will for like lots of years. And so it was literally a one-to-one. And it was
Mhm.
like, maybe I'm selfish. Maybe your guys' brain works like mine, but my exact tech stack process in there was like what you guys did. So,
It's
and one of
amazing.
the coolest, sneakiest, immediate takeaways ever is this kind of like is the interplay of CRM and marketing, right? Because
Mhm.
like when you think about customer relationship management, you're always thinking about, well, like the leads come in and we got information, but really it's for intaking leads, but there's a whole sneaky marketing side you can use. So one of the immediate benefits of PaintScout is you can go back and you can, hey, show me every interior estimate in this price range that's been unaccepted,
Mhm.
and you can even search by towns and other stuff, and it'll just populate a list of all those people. You export it. There's an email list, and you can target market. And we did just this. We don't do many sales in the company. We've talked about this deeply, but
Yeah.
once in a while, because I'm the experiment guy, I'll do a Black Friday sale. And this very week, we did exactly that. We targeted a certain segment of estimates that we did and a certain type of job and a certain price range, and we offered them a very targeted email that said
Mhm.
this, and we've been getting a great response in it. So this would have taken, I mean, Lord knows, I think we've done 1,700 estimates already this year. How
Mhm.
long would that take an office staff to say, find me all the jobs in Waconia, Minnesota, that are interiors between $4,000 and $8,000? Like that'd be like,
Right.
that's like 3 days worth of work. So that's an immediate takeaway. But it's like so many things like that that we take for granted that are just done
Mhm.
in this beautiful, elegant way. So big fan
Dude,
of
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting when you get into the design of this stuff because to what you were saying, like we wanted to take all of the things a painting contractor needed and make it simple. And that actually takes a lot of effort because it's easy to balloon that feature set pretty fast. And some of the criticism we get, like, I'm pretty thick skinned, I can hear it, but people say, oh, it's too simple, it doesn't have this. And you know what? We'll take that feedback. We'll listen and we'll add some stuff over time. But it's better to start at simplicity in my
yeah.
mind, where it's approachable. Your staff might actually get into it. It's like does the things you need it to do, and we leave the like heavy lifting to the other tools that are really good at that stuff.
Yep.
So, like you said, like emails. Are we going to create the best email distribution platform on the planet? If I can't do it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so you have great ways of getting that information out of PaintScout, getting it into an email distribution platform with great design, great all that stuff. And so that really is the thought process. Is like we want to be that hub that lets you get that stuff and amplify your business by using other tools that are excellent. So I'm glad. Did you get some sales from it, Nick? Have you,
Absolutely, yeah. We actually we're
amazing,
sending out
amazing.
3 email blasts this week, and of course, part of this is because I want my guys to sell more, and I want to support my company. But part of it is on my estimating master's classes, where I highlight going from paper estimates to Paint Scout over the last
Mhm.
bunch of years. Like I love doing these experiments because when people say, "Well, listen, in the winter, you need to start discounting your prices to do more sales," and it's like you know my thoughts of that. There's 18 reasons why I do or do not do that, but I
Yeah,
still like to get the data because I'm not going to sit there and poo-poo a discount when I don't
right.
have the experiments myself. So I will actually go through and I'll tell you what it cost me to do it, whether that person would have said yes, regardless, whether we sped up a sale or not. So yeah, so I like doing the experiments, but also 3 email blasts this week. And
Mhm.
on the first one, I believe we got 2 immediate sales within 10 minutes from that. So,
It's
and
amazing.
the cost of emails is basically which is
Pretty
the best,
affordable.
yeah, the best form of things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been an absolute delight. In a principle of my business is simplicity, and
Mhm.
what I like is that PaintScout is a very complex tool with very simple interaction. Like there is, from I personally talk to you and I talk to your people and I understand what type of machine and how complex and how much work it all takes. But when you spit it out to me and my people, it literally is intuitive as a video game. And that's what I like, taking something that's very complex and making it that simple and user friendly is a mountain of work. And we don't take it for granted for a second.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole idea of design, right? Like design first.
Yeah.
And if you get that right, like my mom, and bless her heart, she's fantastic. She can do an estimate too. And that was the goal. It's like, if my mom can do it, I know I can pass along a tool that everybody is going to love and be able to interact with easily. So that's really good feedback. Yeah, thanks.
Well, now enough about PaintScout. Let's
Yeah.
talk about, why I got you here. Let's do some data, man. Listen,
Sure.
I'm a fan of PaintScout. I could go on for this for hours, but
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
talk some data and feelings. So I feel like the last time we talked, I presented this thesis that in spring of 2024, I saw my leads get cut in half. And not just 1 week, but like multiple weeks. We were going from 80, 85 leads down to 40, 45 leads a week. And we hadn't changed that much in our marketing. So I began this data look back, and I had to go back to 2019 before I found, when you step back far enough from the chart, I was afraid. Well, the question I was trying to answer was, are we going into recession or are we just coming down? Are we just going back to normal? And when I got back to 2019, I realized that we weren't going down like recession style. We were coming down from kind of an irrational exuberance, as far as I could tell, from the COVID era, where we actually had this monstrous tailwind of leads. And I think that's proven to be true as we almost close up 2025 here. If I had to oversimplify the entire industry, and I would love your feedback on this thesis, I feel like for the last 15 years, labor has been very hard to get and leads were much easier to get. We didn't have to spend that much time and money. On that teeter-totter, I do believe it has flipped, and I now have another year of data to prove it. And at least in my company, in the painting industry, how I interact with it, it is that we have to work harder and spend more money to get leads, but labor is way more readily available. Your painting company, all the data you see, true, false, yes, no, is this a unique experience?
No, this is 100% what's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened around the same time you were noticing, which is that I think that the end of that COVID boom,
Yeah.
just people ran out of money on it. It's done all the house stuff they needed to do. And so, yeah, we experienced it. Leads were down, and I think you get complacent. I don't know how you felt, but like it's pretty easy to just kind of, when things are good, stop spending the money. I think a lot of people do that. That's probably not the right approach, as I've learned over the years. And yeah, now, I mean, labor, very, very much easier to get people in your company and build your team. So yeah, I totally 100% agree. I guess the question that always comes to my mind is, did we learn a lesson? Like, did anybody out there actually learn anything? Because like for a while, it seemed like all people cared about was, how do I get more people?
Where's all the good people? Yep.
Where's all the good people? How do I get people? And you, like, history repeats itself. Like there's going to be another cycle where there's going to be a boom. Do we have our marketing for people figured out? How do we remind ourselves of that?
Yep.
Like, what are you doing internally, Nick, to kind of watch that stuff?
Huge takeaway, because I started my business in 2007. I started during a horrible economic time. I touched the last bit of people with master's degree asking for entry-level manual labor jobs to feed their family. But when you start your business and your first year or two is like that, you think, wow, all I got to do is hang my shingle up and I get these guys with master's degrees looking to paint houses. Very shortly after that stopped, right? And it went back to that. But the average age of a painting company, the average lifespan of a painting company is 18 months. So we have goldfish memories, right? So when I go do master's classes now, and there's 75 people in a room in Texas, and I say, who was in business before 2020? There'll be 3 of 70 people who had owned a business before then. So the problem is, number one, I don't think we learn lessons. Number two, I don't think many people have been around long enough for enough context to learn lessons. But I have, and so have you. And so here's exactly, I love a good oversimplification. I keep telling myself, if you're a business owner, for the rest of time, you need to solve leads and you need to solve labor. And
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to have to put more or less effort over here, more or less over here. But every week you need to do something to push each of these forward, no matter what. And you can't
Mhm.
be frustrated when things change. And the thing that I'm doing now to detect that is I now have an amazing data set, leads by week for 17 years of my business now. And you can track it based on the economy and everything else and overlay those graphs. So when I see 85 leads in May per week down to 45, and I see that over multiple weeks, that triggers like, okay, here are some things that you probably should be doing right now. What is labor doing? Does that prove it? What is marketing doing? Are your leads strong? What types of marketing? What's your cost per lead estimate and closed? And now I have this
Mhm.
data set, and it's almost like I have these warning lights in my business where if those numbers get hit again, it's like it doesn't tell you what to do, but it's like business owner alert. Like you need to start doing stuff. So I don't know. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I mean, we watch this stuff too, like year-over-year leads. You're kind of watching general sales patterns, sales
Yeah.
per month, that kind of thing. I think there's ways in what we do to keep leads higher, at least quality leads.
Yep.
Um, and so we're always kind of watching that from a sales rep perspective. What are they doing? How's that impacting their sales? But I think like it would be nice. The interesting thing is the same time you experienced it, I experienced it. Like you're in Minnesota, I'm in Calgary, Canada. What is this really like that systematic?
Yep.
And it
Yep.
really, I think sometimes is. And so it's also talking to other people in your network and being like,
Yeah.
how are you seeing it? Because sometimes I think, if you're in an area, say like, Florida, where it's quite nice most of the year, I don't know if you see that at the same time as someone who's in Minnesota seasonally.
You
So
know what's
like, how do
interesting?
you,
Not
go
as
ahead.
drastic, but what's really interesting is that, us Northerners always like to say, well, if I was in Arizona, we wouldn't have any ups and downs. And I swap a lot of data with Arizona and Texans and San Diego people. And honestly,
Mhm.
they in the holiday season from about now until like February, they still have a downturn, not because of
Mhm.
weather, just because of the holiday season. So they
Right.
experience a thing, but it's not as drastic as us, right? Because we're just like prevented from doing exteriors. So
Yeah. Yeah. So like getting those conversations going with people in your network, like how are you seeing it? How's your data
yeah,
looking? Is this an anomaly for me? Because I think sometimes, you know, yeah, if I'm talking to somebody in Florida or yeah, on the West Coast, it's like, are we really comparing the same data?
yeah.
Um, and how do we get ahead of it? Because I'd love to be able to make that shift a little bit faster from marketing for people to marketing for jobs.
One big takeaway, and in 2024, I did the deepest deep dive into marketing just to like restructure myself because I've marketed one way for a lot of years, and I felt like it was time for something different. And I saw a big difference in. I saw two data sets of the people I called from the industry. There were people that had sporadic work, worried about leads, and
Mhm.
they spent almost no time and almost no money on marketing. And there
Mhm.
were the people who were growing their business and had a week by week plan of how they're going to spend their time and money. And sometimes it was a lot, sometimes it was a little, but they never stopped. And then when you start talking to those people and you see seven people over here and seven people over here, and they all share those commonalities, you're like, huzzah. I see
Mhm.
a pattern here. And I don't know what the exact dollar amount or if it's flyers or meta or all of it. But to me, it's constant effort and money being spent
Yeah.
over time and then constantly analyzing and changing. That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, the one thing I've seen is that and I think there's, like, some saying about it, but, like, consistency beats everything essentially at the end of the
Mm.
day, and that's where it goes back to, like, that previous point of, like, how do we remind ourselves that when times are good for leads to keep spending money on
Yep.
leads? Like, even though you can't do all the work, the consistency is what matters,
Yep.
and at the end of the day, if you're looking for people that you consistently have a job ad up, you consistently are interviewing.
Yep.
We track like number of interviews per week with our team. Like we got to hit a number to build a database of people so that when we do need people, we have a group of people we can call. But we are always hiring. We are always taking on work. And it was a different mentality shift that led us to a place where we can actually operate the business properly because it was so reactionary before where it's like leads are down, more money,
Mm.
people are down, figure it out. It's like you're putting fires out everywhere
Yeah.
versus just kind of consistently moving your ship along. So I think that was a big learning moment for me in being able to keep as many people employed as the painting business does.
I want to run by one other thesis that I've been working on for the last year, and I think is going to be even more apropos as we go into the next 1 to 3 years. And then we should probably let you go too. I know you got a heart out, so I'll make sure I respect your time here.
Sure.
But there's another thesis that is not dissimilar to the regular United States Canada economy, which is there seems to be a growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. So to
Mhm.
oversimplify and maybe to be a little hyperbolic, the rich get richer, the poor get poor. And I've seen this data from other painting companies and some people who aggregate some industry data. If you had to lump the industry into three groups, there's the 500K or less, which is basically your one guy plus 2 to 3 guys,
Mhm.
your 5 to 1.5, and then everything over 1.5. I've been seeing a lot of anecdotal and data that says if we go from small, medium, and large, small is moving backwards or going non existent for the most
Mhm.
part. Medium is stagnant to moving backwards. And everybody over 1.5 is actually growing. It might
Mhm.
be big, it might be small. That's hyperbolic, it's oversimplified, but the more humans on the large business are growing right now. More humans on the small business are actually going away during this
Mhm.
time. And that number is getting wider and wider. So you're an aggregator of data. I'm an aggregator of anecdotes and human experience in the industry. That's what I'm
Mhm.
experiencing. What are you experiencing in this economic conditions with sizes of businesses like that?
Man, it's so hard to tell. I should probably do a little more research in this to figure this out. Um, we see a certain type of contractor interact with us at PaintScout, and I think that kind of skews my data a
Oh,
little bit.
sure. Yeah. Yeah,
When
you
you're in
throw
the
a couple
startup,
Matt Kuipers in there and the data set is off now.
it's completely off, and we know though that like there's a it's a bit of a pyramid still. Like that base is still pretty strong
Yep.
of startups and 1 to 3 person businesses. I think our industry gets better when bigger businesses, more organized businesses do come in and make a bigger impact.
Yep.
That's a personal opinion, but I think there's a lot of people in our industry who would be better off working for really good businesses. Because it's actually really hard. Like what we do, like running this business is really hard, and I think that that's difficult. And I think there's a saying that says like, one man working alone will get killed by a lion every time, but
Mm.
many men working together will kill that same lion. And I've bought into that principle in my life, that like me being on my own and having to get jobs and run around and manage crews and do the marketing, and it almost destroyed me. And we had to move up. We had to push forward. So your data is interesting to me because we, I mean, we serve a lot of those businesses over 1.5 million,
Yes.
and it's very, and because it's almost like this weird secret that like you start to realize you need these things in order to make your business bigger.
You
But
absolutely do.
there's a ton of startups. I don't know. I'd love to think about this more and get back to you on a future episode. Let's bring some real data to the table.
Done and done. And actually, some of the hardest, and I sit on the board of the PCA with executives from Sherwin and Benjamin Moore, and they are kind of the keepers of the best data. And even with them, I mean, Sherwin-Williams has an economist on staff that I got to meet at the last expo. Like these are people who are deep into this data and economics, and still, it's a little bit hard to suss out some of the industry information
Mm,
because it's so fragmented and unprofessional. And honest, if we're being honest, itinerant. It changes so much. Like
yeah.
the going theory is that 99% of all paint businesses in the United States are 1.5 people and they go out of business every 18 to 24 months. Like that's
Mhm.
that's squishy itinerant data.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, if you say, what's the banking industry like? Well, listen, there's a bunch of players who have been here for 100 years and they keep getting bigger. And there's some small ones, but there's not that much churn. All our
Right.
industry is churn. So it actually gets kind of hard to aggregate some of this data. And yeah, you kind of have to weigh anecdotal stuff and a little heavier than you normally would with some of this.
Yeah. I think I've heard you talk a lot about this, and I've heard other people talk about it too, just the professionalization of this
Oh,
industry
yeah.
and like how it actually happens. Um, I had an interesting thought I want to run by you, which I think, I don't know if you're ready for this, but
Heck yeah.
and that concept of like, what is the better businesses, or how do
Oh,
we professionalize.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say, like, we could do some type of a certification that
Mm-hmm.
might help, like kind of, HVAC, plumbing, electrical type style. I think that's been tried. It's more difficult. What would you say would happen if titanium dioxide went 10x in the value of it? So a gallon of paint goes from $30 to $300. Would that change our industry?
Oh my God, in many rational and irrational ways. It absolutely would.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thought experiment, isn't it?
The first thing that came to mind is this is a simple price adjustment. Like you take your job costing and you move your material price from 15% to something else, and then you adjust the revenue to make it back down to 15%, right?
Right,
Now,
sure.
what the interaction is with the clients about that is a whole nother thing. But to me, it's like, as long as it was across the board fair, that's just a math problem then. But now you have the irrational side, which is when 99% of the industry is an irrational craftsperson who may or may not, who should or should not own a business. You know how they fixate on the price of paint. I bet
Totally.
you, I mean, listen, you know how people react to a 5% price increase from all our major vendors. Yeah, what would
Exactly.
happen if it 3x'd, right? Like they would just
Yeah.
say, this industry's stupid, I'm out of here. And you
Yeah.
might find yourself saying 30% of all the painting companies just cease to exist overnight because of some limiting belief.
Right. It's kind of wild. Or what happens is it becomes such an investment for the customer that they have to pick really
Oh,
professional, like, companies that
yeah.
they have trust and all this kind of thing. Because I
So this
think
is like a general contractor now. If you have somebody put an addition onto your house, you don't take the lowest bid. You take somebody you want
no,
to work with.
exactly.
John, I
And
love
so
that
it's
thought.
kind of an interesting thought. And it's one of those things that could actually, in theory, happen at some point in our lives
Yeah. Well,
because,
especially with what we experienced with supply chain and COVID, like, listen, everything's on the table, man.
yeah, yeah. It's so. Anyways, I want to get your thoughts on that because I thought that was
God,
interesting. That, like, what would happen if a paint job, 5x in cost on materials? Because that would get us more in line with, like, HVAC, plumbing,
yeah. Yeah.
electrical. That now we're in the same realm.
From my boots on the ground anecdotal experience, I do about 20 to 25 travels where I literally interact with like 50 to 100 contractors per time. And so I got a
Mhm,
weird slice of this industry,
mhm,
and immediately my mind goes to the three groups: the 500 or less, the 500 to 1.5, and the 1.5 and over. Each group would have a very unique experience with dealing with that sort of thing. And some of it would be pants on fire, and some would be, well, just different math problem, and
right.
it would be super interesting, man. It would be super interesting.
Be Just be interested to see what happens, right? Because it's one of those variables I don't think people talk about much, and COVID kind of gave us that example of, like, stuff can change,
Yeah.
and I think we all talk about professionalization like it's something we want, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
true? Do we all want professionalization?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I do. I'm motivated by that. So I always think about what are the different levers that might actually do this, and get us to a point where you become a trade that's like, you want to get your house painted. It's going to be an investment, but
Yep.
you got to do it. Everything always has to be painted. So
I like you bring that to its other fullest extent, and you say, well, go to some in the industrial coatings when you get into the
mm,
municipal work, when there's coatings inspectors, like ACE
yeah,
coatings inspectors and stuff. And yeah, I think that would be a good litmus test for the whole industry, which is if every one of your jobs was inspected for wet and dry mill thickness, cleanliness, lead chip pickup. If somebody had to, do a shine meter on every one of your things and make sure all the coats were done, inspect it between coats, how many of us would pass all that stuff? I think that
yeah,
would be a real interesting experiment.
totally. That might put some barriers in place.
Yeah. Yeah, some we want and some we don't want. And yeah, it's
It,
fun to thought experiment. And of course, being the board chair of the PCA, people come to you with all sorts of, we need to have inspectors, we need to regulate and license the industry. And it's like, listen, I'm all ears, but there are some states that do this. And I'm happy to walk you through the pros and cons of all that. But yeah,
totally.
it's all interesting to me. So, all right,
Right.
John, I want to respect your time. You got a heart out. I do want to give people a call to action, though. So you
Sure.
guys
Yeah.
know that I talk about PaintScout. I travel around the country talking about it, especially in juxtaposition to my paper duplicate forms I used to use. If anybody likes anything they heard today, John, what are they going to do?
Just go to paintscout.com and get a demo. Talk
Yep.
to our team. They're experts on this stuff. See if it can help your business. And we're really motivated to try to help the people who care get what they want.
Yep.
So if that's you, PaintScout.com, get a free demo, and start a trial.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing. It will always help your business. Are you in a position to capitalize on it? And
Absolutely.
most likely, yes. If you're a single owner operator, if you're a big shot Harpeth Painting, I mean, everybody in between, and I'm certainly in between, we've all had similar experiences. So I would tell you, it doesn't cost you anything to book a demo. At least look into it for the good of you and your people.
100%. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate
John,
you.
you are the best, and I think I'm going to see you next week as well. So,
Absolutely. Come up to Canada. We're gonna show you what cold temperature actually means.
oh, how dare you! As there's flurries going around here, so
Bring your thermal underwear, man. You're gonna need it.
yeah, I'm prepared, man. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for what you do to the industry. And I love the innovation. And we will talk to you soon, John.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate what you do.
All right, let me make sure our feeds are